Hello, how is everyone? Happy Thursday. I can see a few of you in the chat, so just let me know that you can hear us. All right, it's me, Joe, and Sid with you today. Quinn's off eating some pancakes. He was going to join us, but he's got pancakes to eat. We're calling in from Palm Beach. We're at Permissionless this week, so we'll give you a little bit of an update on that. We'll also talk to Luna and UST and steps we've taken over the past couple of weeks regarding that and how we're going to be moving forward. We are also excited to be looking back at 1 year of Mpl. It's a very, very special week. So we've really been celebrating being 1 year old since 1 year since our commercial launch, and starting to look ahead into year 2. And I think you've probably seen our lovely gloopy brand, which you see on the screen just here. And I'll talk about the process that we went through to get there. And we'll also give a little bit more detail on staking Mpl, because that's a very, very exciting update. Cool. Thanks, Martin. Loud and clear. So let's get into it. I'll just give a little bit of an update on Permissionless. So obviously, if you are following us on Twitter, you'll have seen all the fun that we've been having over at Permissionless. It's it's big. There's like 7,000 people here. It's really, really well organized in the convention center. Loads of really good talks, an NFT hall, and then also and loads of booths from loads of our friends in the space. So it's been really good to learn, meet people, loads of old faces and new faces too. And then of course we had our pancake party today, so we'll show you some pictures of that. But just to get into Permissionless, so Sid spoke on a panel regarding unlocking institutions into DeFi with Rachel from Circle, who we've seen loads of this week, actually, that we've seen loads of the Circle team, and Luca from Maker. And what was your outtakes from the session, Sid? It was definitely a packed room, wasn't it? Everyone was standing at the back. It's getting quite hot in there.
Yeah, we actually had pretty good attendance, and I hope it wasn't just so that people could take advantage of the air conditioning. But I think it was probably one of the key focuses was our panel was on institutional participation in DeFi, and I think one of the key focal points was the use of DeFi for kind of real world activities, whether it be lending, and that is kind of what's drawing institutions into the space. And then market structure is one that kind of always comes up, and it's no secret that as more institutions come in, like the volumes participating in DeFi will grow. And then the other thing that always comes up is the rails, like what's actually needed to support it. We launched on Solana a couple of weeks ago, but there are a whole host of things that go along with that, like Fireblocks. So can our clients use Fireblocks to actually interact with the DeFi?
Yeah, it was good. And then I was in there popping stickers everywhere and dropping gift bags all around the place, as people were looking at our orange gift bags like, oh, I like it, what is it? Scanning through to our Gloopy website. So we were definitely centre of attention on yesterday, all around Permissionless. And it was quite fun, like walking down the halls and people saying, oh, are you going to the Mpl talk? Quite popular. So that's quite nice. And yes, you would have seen I've been sticker blasting absolutely everywhere. So whilst Sid's doing all the serious stuff, I'm around putting stickers everywhere and getting told off by Blockworks. But we move. The stickers are epic and shiny, and I don't think there's one person at Permissionless that doesn't have one of these stickers, thanks to all of our interns that are just shilling Mpl on the ground. I think Joe's even got one on his backpack.
Love it.
Any highlights for you, Sid, from Permissionless? Joe? Obviously, we've seen so many friends, haven't we? We had our pancake party this morning, our biggest yet.
Yeah. I think
we had like Maven
definitely
11
the breakfast this morning. Yeah, I mean, it's good to sort of bring so many people together, and it's like an impromptu chance for like potential deals to get done. So we had like both pool delegates there, orthogonal, Maven. They were talking to kind of new, like people from Maker, interested potential partners for the future. And so I think like those are the kind of things that are just really hard to organize over Zoom. And so conferences really fill a special place in in crypto and DeFi in terms of just helping move things forward. That was kind of rambly.
Yeah, but
100%.
how would
for
you?
me,
Go on, Joe.
having these types of events is something I've missed out on for a while, and now that I've escaped Australia and moved to Miami as of Saturday, I've got to get the chance at these events to interact with humans again, and humans that I've spoken to a lot on Zoom calls, but now I get to speak to them in person, which is awesome. And got to meet all the pool delegates for the first time, which was great.
Yeah, it's really good. And actually, we should be celebrating Joe being in America as well as our first birthday. Because, yeah, whole gang's together now. It's great. Nearly forgot about that momentous thing. But, yeah, it's great that you're here and that we're all together.
Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate that.
What's he saying? Joe is lovely. Vertex, would you say that Joe can party after all, or are you still on the fence about Joe's partying abilities? We'll wait to see the answer to that. Alrighty, so yeah, Pancake Party was amazing. I think we had about 100 friends and newbies come through the door. Sid and Joe addressed the room, told everyone about who we are, what we've been up to, and also where we're going. These opportunities, whilst yes, it's great and delicious and we have lots of pancakes, there are also opportunities for partnership. So let's see what happens as a result off the back of that. And Sid, I need your pancake rating. What would you rate the pancakes today out of all of the 5 mixes you've attended?
Ooh, tough question. I would say these ones are pretty up there. I think, without a doubt, probably the best we've had have been London. Like London knows how to do pancakes. So that's pretty special. So yeah, that's probably still the benchmark that we need to top. This was probably, I rank it probably second or third. Coffee was good. Not enough cold brew. Definitely not enough cold brew for the heat.
Yeah, it's so hot here. And we did it outside and by the pool that we unfortunately couldn't get into. But yeah, it's baking hot here. I still believe that the London pancakes are the best. But some people were really, really quite impressed by these. They like the depth. So there's good depth, not too thick, not too thin.
Yeah, good depth, good browning.
Okay, shall we move on to some more serious stuff?
Let's.
So we know what we're talking about today. Shall we update everyone on Luna and UST, because I think it's front of everyone's mind, impacted or touched most of us either personally or professionally, and we have promised to continue keeping you updated. So maybe Sid, you want to touch on this?
Yeah, sure. So it's no secret that Luna and UST was kind of one of the big events over the last couple of weeks. Being a lending platform that's lending to crypto native companies, we naturally wanted to reach out pretty quickly and follow up with borrowers. So Maple's pool delegates and the core team was reaching out to borrowers right away, just to check whether they'd had any flow-on impacts from Luna, and just assess the health of their balance sheets. So we'd had a couple that we had higher concerns about. So we were in pretty close contact with them and managed to get satisfied that they didn't have material exposures to Luna. But then the space that we lend to is predominantly high frequency traders and market makers. So these types of players don't tend to do yield farming. So they tend to be doing centralized exchange strategies, and the type of returns and trades that they're set up to do are not really DeFi yield farming. So what we found is that most of our market, most of our clients on the borrower side were fine, relatively unimpacted by Luna. And in fact, what happens is that in times like this, volatility in the market grew, and these guys are typically trading vol. So they're actually experiencing a very profitable month so far. And indeed, the last month where they saw this kind of opportunities, was March 2020, and so we've actually been quite interested in whether we can deploy more capital to these borrowers, because we see an opportunity to take, I suppose, to increase the average credit quality of the book by extending larger loans or new loans out to these types of borrowers. And we also have an opportunity to do so at better pricing than we would have faced, even 2 weeks ago. So prices have definitely moved out, so 200-300 basis points in the last couple of weeks. So our biggest issue is actually maintaining lending capital in the pool. So there's always going to be a certain group of customers or people lending on the platform who either want to buy the dip. There's probably not much we can do about them, and good for them. Then there are the ones who are going to be meeting margin calls, and so they need liquidity to do that. And again, we don't have a lot of control over that. But then there's the third group, which are people who are kind of spooked and they want to be conservative and just see what the lay of the land is. So those are the types of lenders that we've also been reaching out to, and who we want to provide transparency to and encourage them to stick with the platform and get comfortable that they can leave their funds there, because this really highlights the strength of the due diligence that Mpl's pool delegates do. So Orthogonal, Maven, they are due diligencing and X-Margin. They are due diligencing borrowers, looking at their financials, meeting management, and really getting to understand their businesses before they actually approve loans to them. And it's worth noting that's one of the reasons why there was such a small exposure of funds that were doing yield farming on the platform.
Yeah, and just to follow on from that is that, as Sid's alluding to, there has been a significantly larger increase in the number of withdrawal requests, especially in the two permissionless pools. And so we've been working with parties that have requested those withdrawals to give them comfort and understanding around where the quality of the borrowers are at. But the way that our withdrawal mechanism works is that given that we've got fixed term loans in place, it is a first come, first serve withdrawal request. And so those parties that initiated last week in the midst of the market panic will be coming up to the end of their 10-day cooldown period, and will be able to potentially withdraw if there is liquidity available. And so we have seen, and we expect that there is the potential for there to be no liquidity available to some withdrawal requests over the course of the coming next week. And we encourage those that have requested a withdrawal, one, to consider the quality of the borrowers we have in place, read through our market updates and get an understanding of the strength of the position of our loan portfolio, engage with the team if you have questions. And then, but if there is the expectation of continuing with your withdrawal, that you will need to monitor the amount of cash that's available in the pool. And in the event that you aren't able to withdraw because there is no cash in a pool, you will then have to reinitiate another 10-day cooldown in order to access a withdrawal, if that is something you want to continue pursuing.
It's worth noting. So that is part of the strength of the platform is that we're able to originate loans at these fixed tenors. And so it's just a case that if there's no liquidity in the pool at the time, more repayments are always coming through from borrowers. We've got about 40 mil in the orthogonal pool that's going to be repaid over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And it's just a matter of, as those loans get repaid, cash will build, people will be able to withdraw again. Ideally, what we get back to is more of a pattern of deposits coming in as people, see the market conditions settle, and and decide that they're sitting on a comfortable amount of stables, and and they'd like to get yield on those stables again. So ideally, a really good outcome for us would be to continue to grow through this. But for anyone who does want to withdraw from the platform, we'll facilitate that kind of liquidity as loans are repaid.
And there's a question for Aaron actually in the chat, just regarding whether there's a wait list or not, and there is not a wait list. You do have to activate the new 10-day cooldown.
Yeah, that's right. That's just a function of the smart contracts and the way that we've built it initially. We will be, putting through updates to the smart contracts down the line. But for this liquidity event and the larger amount of withdrawals we've seen, this is the way it will work on a first come, first serve basis. And if that 48-hour window where your withdrawal window closes without being able to withdraw, you will unfortunately have to request a new 10-day cooldown. But as Sid's alluding to, we're constantly monitoring this. We've got complete transparency on the quantum of the requests that come through, and we'll be able to actively manage the liquidity for lenders on the platform.
Yeah. It's worth noting. A kind of queuing mechanism would be great for future, but there's a ton of complexity that would need to go into building that kind of thing with smart contracts. And up till now, the 85-90% utilization had typically provided enough liquidity for any ongoing withdrawals. But obviously, we didn't anticipate the kind of liquidity constraints that were coming through the market over the last week. But it's something we're happily taking feedback on. I can see there's another question on how loans are priced. So loans are priced bilaterally between delegates and borrowers. So at the moment, what we're seeing is some borrowers are offering to take out loans at higher rates. We've been accruing cash over the last week or so in anticipation of some of these withdrawals. But as we start to get new loans out the door, you would see them go out at that higher pricing. So let's say like an extra, 300 basis points. And what happens is that the yields that are passed through are a weighted average. So you'll see that as the old loans roll off, that average pricing of the pool would shift upwards to reflect that. But it's not like doing one loan won't overcome the average pricing of 24 other loans in the pool. Is worth noting as well that we just topped up the rewards, or are in the process of doing that today. Just needs to go through a DAO signature request, but that should shift it back up because I know it has dropped over the last week.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that there might be more questions on this. The one's just dropped on. Just dropped in there. Do you want to answer this one now, Sid? Do borrowers lose interest in getting loans from retail when regulators come? Let's answer that one at the end. We can say that later.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I appreciate that there will likely be more questions around this. So do reach out to me, Martin, any of the team, and we'll happy to give more information around that. We've also just published a rolling update to all the steps that were taken regarding Luna and UST and capital availability on our new shiny site. So you can check back there for any updates on this. And if you are affected yourself in the app, there's also a new intercom feature where you can chat direct to the team and they can answer any immediate questions you have whilst you're going through that process. So we're here and we'll hopefully continue communicating positive updates as the week goes on. All right, shall we move on to lighter news regarding 1 year of Mpl? So first and foremost, congrats Sid and Joe for 1 year of operating protocol. How did it? Can you remember when you went live commercially? Was that a moment in time?
Yeah, I remember being deeply nervous on the day it went live. I remember when we were deploying the protocol back in May. I think we had like 3 go or no go meetings, and we were monitoring gas costs because it was going to cost thousands of dollars in gas to deploy it. And so we'd check in at like 3 in the afternoon, check back at like 9 in the evening, and we were going on these like 6 or 8 hour cycles to decide when we would actually deploy the protocol. So everyone was very nervous, but now it's like, now we'll be we've deployed Loans V2, we'll be deploying Pools V2 soon as well. So it's kind of like, it's amazing to think of the things that were such a big deal in the past, kind of how it changes. But so May launched Mpl. We did the balancer pool. I remember coming back from a run on a Saturday morning, and I had some dude messaging me who was threatening to take down our website if we didn't go and pay him a boatload of ETH. So that was an interesting day, and then that then preceded us launching the pool with orthogonal. So first pool 17 million, and then by July we'd launched our second already, and those were that was Maven's pool. I think started off with about 21 million, so they were our second pool delegate, and it's amazing to think that now in a single month. Single weeks even, we probably do more volume than we did in those entire first two pools for the first couple of months. So August, first sort of major milestone, we reached 100 million. That was massive for us. I remember celebrating then, and then since then growth's been incredible. We now do about 250 million a month. And hopefully when we look back a year from now, that figure will look small. And then where did we get to? Then after that, we did November. We had our first syndicated DeFi loan pool with Alameda. So that was kind of a new use case where we said, okay, if we've got a name that's really saleable and that people in TradFi recognize and understand, we can probably build a single borrower pool around that and really enable them to get better access to capital than they would through alternative means or even using any investment banks. We've grown that pool now to about 150 million, and so it's been great to watch that grow and work in partnership with Alameda. And then November we were working with Block Tower to create the first permission pool. I think permission DeFi is a theme that comes up a lot, and one where we decided we wanted to provide both sides of this, so that we can continue to grow access to DeFi, because there are going to be a set of institutions that really require that to get on board. And so we want to facilitate that. We ultimately want to serve the kind of the bulge bracket users of capital markets and be their chosen point of infrastructure. So that was a pretty key feature for us. And then we progressed. We entered another partnership with Celsius, and saw, for the first time, a CeFi lender come and use DeFi rails to grow its business. Celsius has fantastic underwriting experience, and so that was a partnership that really excited us. And then onto the kind of the more techie side of things, we hit a score of 92% on DeFi safety, which I know Lucas and the smart contract team was super stoked about. And I think it speaks volumes to the kind of into development of the protocol and in safety, because ultimately we realize, as you can see over events of the last couple of weeks, it's very difficult for a lot of people to assess the risk of things they're using, and so scores like DeFi safety are a really good signal and help get more people into the space. And then of course January we completed the Avari acquisition, which enabled us to go and expand onto Solana. And we've always been a chain agnostic team, and we really wanted to use it as our North Star, building product that people wanted. And this meant, potentially being on alternative chains. And so, it's been great welcoming Jeff and QB from Avari on board and welcoming them into the Mpl team. And we really want to grow that product. We launched that first pool with X Margin, and I think it's been it's been exciting to get that pool off the ground with them, having known the team for quite a while. And we think that product, credit scoring in crypto and using wallet addresses is going to be a powerful enabler of growth. But anyway, I'll stop there and I'll pass on to Joe.
Yeah, and it looks like we've lost Charlotte for the time being, and she is controlling the slide deck. Oh no, it's updated. Here we go. So yeah, earlier on in this year, so COVID, or Mpl was a COVID-built product, and so we were all locked up in our houses for a lot of the initial building time on Mpl, and what that culminated in, though, once we were released, we were able to get the whole team flown into Miami and have our first team offsite. And you can see a few pictures there from the different activities we participated in. We went along to a local pound to help out with some of the dogs. We were cooking and we had a cooking competition that we ran as a team. And you can see there the culmination of that in the bottom right with a dinner on the water. We then also had a bunch of talkers come through that include Nick from Castle Island Ventures, and then a number of other talkers that were able to speak through their experiences at products like Tesla and give other insights like that. So that was a great event for the whole team, and we'll be looking to emulate that and keep that an ongoing thing, probably every 6 months or so that the team can get together. And whilst we remain fully remote, those interactions and having a week together where we can spend time as a team, both working and collaborating together, but also building our relationships is a super important aspect. Then as we look into the rest of earlier this year, we've gone through a big milestone in February of hitting 1 billion in loans. We launched the Celsius pool, as Sid alluded to earlier, and then we also launched our first pool on Solana with X Margin as a new pool delegate. So they've built out a credit tool that all of our pool delegates actually use already, and then they've been able to leverage that technology that they've built out that does credit assessment and engages across centralized and decentralized exchanges to see market maker positions. They've been able to leverage that into a protocol now like ours, where they can have access to capital to not only leverage the technology that they've built, but then distribute capital and provide that value to a significant borrower set that exists on Mpl.
Yeah, awesome. So I mean, like where we're at the moment, like looking back 1 year, we've done since May of last year, we've now hit 1.3 billion in loan origination. So I think this is huge. Definitely, probably exceeded our initial expectations when we launched, and as well as hitting 45 mil in revenues, not just for the protocol treasury, but for across lenders, delegates, and the treasury. Having 45 mil in revenues now passed through the platform, I think is pretty huge, and kind of speaks to the sustainability of the protocol. So those are internally generated from Mpl providing value to borrowers who use the platform. So I think the other thing, initially, like January this year, markets were kind of going sideways, and there wasn't a lot of confidence, I suppose, in broader markets. But despite that sideways market, we'd actually seen TVL grow quite nicely, and I think it points to the kind of recognition that Mpl now has as a place where you can park your funds safely, and where you can take comfort in the kind of the due diligence that pool delegates are doing. And so I think it's been nice, like growth kind of through choppy conditions like this, I suppose speaks to the strength of what we've built, and hopefully the durability around that product. So very, very proud of the engineering team, and what they've built with the web app. We are always trying to improve the user experience, and we did have a bit of an exciting update with the new website going live this week. So you would have seen a lot of the globs of syrup on there. And as Charlotte alluded to with the stickers at permissionless. So yeah, kind of nice upwards trend on that growth there.
Yeah, and so then as we look forward for the next few months and initiatives that we're working on and what the priorities for the team are, one, and I see there's a question on it, which we can probably delve into in a bit more detail later on, is around a Bitcoin mining pool. So QT, Quinn Thompson on our team's been leading this initiative. I think we're well progressed on a potential pool delegate being engaged in the next month or so, and then we will be looking to launch a pool in the next couple of months. But I think that objective and that progress that we're making there is super exciting, and is our first real step into a differentiated borrower set from our initial play on market makers and high frequency trading firms. Then more broadly, the smart contracts team are working on a pretty massive update to our pools contracts. And so this will culminate in a whole bunch of functionality changes. And the most important and relevant for community members is single-sided cover. So this will enable to enable Maple token holders, as well as other asset holders such as WETH and USDC, to deposit into a cover reserve and be able to earn yield on that cover that's being provided. Further to that, we've got a new governance community manager. You would have seen Martin in all of our Discord, who's jumped into Maple in the last couple of weeks with a lot of vigor. And so he's going to be working with the team and with the community and investors to map out governance over the next couple of months and give a bit more clarity and foresight into what governance will look like in the short, medium, and long term at Maple, and then how also the community can become more and more active in participation. And then finally, we've recently released the updates to our loan contracts that will enable refinancing. And so this is a borrower-focused feature that will enable them, rather than at the end of every loan at the minute they need to repay their capital and then take out a new loan, this will enable them to refinance into a new loan. And so we're currently releasing that into the web application, and we'll be looking to release that in the middle of next month, hopefully. Then, as we progress towards the end of the year, we've still got our target of getting to 5 billion in loan originations. That is, potentially going to be a bit more of a hefty target now, given market conditions and the pullback more broadly. But we think, whilst that's an ambitious target, still achievable at this point in time, and especially as we're able to expand into other borrower verticals, look at some of these initiatives and continue refining and expanding the product offering that we've got. We'll continue to look to bring on more and more reputable pool delegates, and that's really our scaling mechanism. The more reputable the pool delegates we can bring on, with the larger and larger capital networks of their own, utilizing our infrastructure and our services, the faster that Maple will be able to continue scaling. All right. Then finally, on that one thing I didn't touch on, sorry, was expanding the team. So the team has been growing significantly. We're up to nearly 40, just close on 40 people. We had, I think, 5 people start last month. We had 2 people start last week. We have 2 people starting next week. And so the team continues to expand and grow across all areas and functions of the business. So the engineering team will be getting close to 20 plus. And then we're also building out all the other functions of building, more support on the marketing side, and then really focusing on sales and growth, and enabling that function to be a high functioning part of the team that will continue to enable the scaling and broader adoption of the Maple protocol.
All right. Looks like Charlotte's still having some issues getting on to the back onto the screen. So I can probably take the bit on new branding.
I think the next slide we've got is Mpl. I'm not sure if she's able to move the slide or not. Yep, there we go.
Yeah.
So Mpl Staking. So we've released all the smart contracts. We've announced an exciting launch date of the 30th of May. So less than 2 weeks from today, XMPL will be out in the market and available for everyone to participate in. The big thing around Maple and staking, and maybe where a little bit of confusion has existed in the community and for people who use the product, is that previously we've had staking and referred to that as providing cover, and what we now call providing cover. And so that's where you're depositing capital into the cover reserve that acts as the first loss in any one pool. Mpl staking is purely for XMPL. And so what that is where you're depositing your MPL into the XMPL smart contract, receiving XMPL in response for staking that MPL, and that is then enabling you to participate in the economics of the protocol. And so what we proposed initially and what the governance of the community approved was for initially 50% of protocol revenues to be distributed into the XMPL contract. And so what that looks like is we have USDC and WETH pools that we're earning establishment fees on. We'll take those revenues, purchase MPL with them on market, and then deposit the MPL into the XMPL contract. And so MPL holders, by participating in XMPL, will be able to be earning and compounding their MPL balance. What we're also going to do when we launch this is the revenues that we've earned over the start of this year from January 2022, we're going to distribute a portion of that to bootstrap the launch of XMPL. And so we're initially looking at around 30,000 Mpl tokens will be distributed into the XMPL contract to really bootstrap and get participation going and enable those first participants in XMPL to earn the just rewards on being an early adopter of XMPL. So as Charlotte's got there, get your wallet ready.
I'm back.
Back.
I kicked Mpl Finance out of the Mpl Finance call, and I can't get back in, so I'm on my phone. And I look really quite gross from here, so apologies for that. But I can take you through the brand, which is my baby. It's my baby. They're my baby blobs, so I'm happy to be back on this. So about 3 months. Can you all hear me? Okay. Yeah, cool, awesome. So about 3 months ago, I can remember being at dinner with Joe, and he was like, "What's the one thing that you want to do in the next couple of months? Like, what would make you really, really happy? Like, what do you want to do from a marketing perspective to drive the brand into the future?" I said, "It's a website, but more than a website that could have everything together, that did the storytelling that we needed to say really, really easily, simply, like sell our product, take it, and be super easy to understand by anyone who came to our website." Because I didn't, like, even in the interview process, I didn't really get it. So I wanted that opportunity to simplify and sell Mpl in a better way. And so this conversation started with wanting a website that told the story better, but also brought all of our different touch points together. So we've been using Ghost and Medium, and keeping things up on YouTube. And I just wanted to bring everything together to have one-stop shop, and to ultimately help all of our different customers and audiences learn more about Mpl in a really simple way and interact with our product and team easily. So wanted a website, and then why stop at a website when you can rebrand a business? And obviously that's like a marketer's dream. Anytime you kind of give them the opportunity or the runway to refresh a brand. It did start with a refresh, and I will say it's definitely a little bit of a rebrand, but it did start with a refresh. And we kind of had this vision of it needing to celebrate Mpl, who we are now, who we're going to be, differentiate us. And I can remember having some quite creative conversations with the team whilst we were all at the offsite about what is Mpl, what does it mean to you, and what does it look like, what does it smell like, what does it feel like, if you could imagine it as like a character or a thing. And we all sort of agreed that it was liquid. So it's we're maple syrup, we're not a maple leaf, we're not a maple tree, we're maple syrup. And then, of course, our platform has liquidity flowing in and out of it. So we kind of settled on this theme of liquidity, and I think you can probably see that in the blobs. And liquid moves and flows just in the same way that the capital moves and flows through our platform. So we kind of synthesized all of that, took it to a design agency, and we got this out of the door in about 3 months. So if you've not seen it already, then do scan this QR code now, and you'll be able to go through to our shiny new website, still on the same domain name, but with a lot more content on there and a new look and feel. It's mpl.finance, because I'm going to scroll to the next slide. Our visual identity includes blobs, it includes photography. You will have seen we've got a new logo, we've capitalized it, which is, I think, is really great and assertive and smart. And we've tried to make sure that, like, within the website and in all of the communications that we do continue rolling out, we include real people, because of course our money goes to real people running real businesses in the real world. So you'll see there's definitely liquidity at its core. and that the maple syrup flows in these blobs. The conversations we've been having about blobs have been quite funny and entertaining. And I hope that these blobs can evolve as we evolve, our syrupy globs. So, there's different ways that we can use them. But I actually just think that they really differentiate us, where we are a differentiated product. And this brand really does set us apart from maybe other people in the space. But also, I don't see another brand that looks like this, that is as daring and as orange and gloopy and shiny as this. So I think it's really charming. You can see it immediately. It sticks in your mind. It kind of entices people to come into our world. There's definitely like an element of intrigue when you see it. And I know people at Permissionless yesterday were walking past like, what is that? I like it. What is it? And it's definitely very contemporary and clean. So we've got liquidity in there. And we've also got grids to show that we are infrastructure and that we're tech. So hopefully this all starts to make sense to you, because it definitely made sense to us as we were going through the process. It feels pretty disruptive. I feel pretty proud of it. And I would love to know what you guys think of it, and whether you think that this is like a good expression of maple. We've had quite a lot of good feedback of like, that's hard AF or smooth AF. But if you've got any more constructive feedback, we would happily take it. Sid, Joe, did you enjoy the process of refreshing your baby brand now into my baby brand?
We did. I yeah, definitely nervous to begin with. You're sort of entrusting your baby with someone else, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. Like I was pretty thrilled when I saw the blobs. It's kind of hypnotic, a little bit mesmerizing, I think, are words that come to mind when I look at it. So plus I love the what do we call them? What's the color? Stone?
Oh, yeah,
The
stone.
stone caps. Yeah, that's hard AF.
Hard AF. They were pretty popular today, weren't they? The stone caps. But yeah, it's coming to life. So obviously the brand is like best represented today in the website, and you can explore it and you see the movement, the fluidity, and the just how these blobs move. But ultimately it's extended onto merch already, shiny stickers, and all of our touch points are going to be updated with this. So wherever you interact with Maple, it will look like this. Not yet in the product, and I think Joe and the team are probably in a stage of awe and consideration as to how we get these globby blobbies, into the product. What do you have any initial thoughts on how we're going to get these blobs into the product, Joe? And when that would happen?
Not sure. I'm certainly not a designer, as Charlotte would attest to throughout going through this experience of doing the brand redesign. But just to call Charlotte out publicly, she's done an incredible job. The level of care and dedication that she's shown in this process to protecting the brand, but also having a vision for what she wanted from the very outset, and to see that come to life has been fantastic. So she should be very proud of herself personally, and we're very proud of the Maple brand that now looks so much more refined and aligned to where we want to grow things to into the future.
Yeah, thank you. And it's just a privilege to be able to do this, and I think everyone in the team is really energized by it as well. Like, we love it. We want to get behind it. We want the merch. Everyone wants the merch. So yeah, it's really inspiring to work for a brand that looks as cool as this. Ain't Got No Agware would have kept the original font, of course. I think that's Joe wanted that as well. So. All right, and so I am merch when? Good question. Do we know when merch is coming? I'm not too sure. I'll have to check with the name, but I do. I actually am joking. I do know a date. There is merch coming soon. I think it's probably first week of June, but we'll come back to you on that. Alrighty, I think that's us coming to an end. But there are there are a bunch of questions. So keep dropping them in as you have them, and we'll probably just take them from the top. So maybe we can answer Kraken.
Joe, you want to kick off on the miner one? Sorry, the Maker DAO one.
Yes. So we've actually got an update call tomorrow with the Maker team, but things are progressing really well there. It is a process engaging with as decentralized a DAO as Maker is, but we saw a couple of their DAO members at the conference this week. A couple were at our breakfast this morning, so I was talking to them about progress. We've identified a pool delegate for the pool. We're working on the tech integration of using the D3M model to distribute DAI. We've come to what we think is a finalized structure for the Maker credit team to review. Legal is ongoing. And so we're kind of on all of the elements that are required in order to kick off a project like this. We're making great progress. In terms of timelines, I'd hope to come out of the call tomorrow with some sort of finalized launch date, or expected, to at least have a soft launch date in place for getting this capital out the door from Maker and into a Maple pool. And we see this as proving out a model that can then be utilized by the Maker community into real-world borrowers and many other use cases down the track as they look to expand the function of the way that Maker maintains the peg and is able to utilize DAI into the real world.
Right. Let us know that answered your. Heck yes, it does answer the question. Alrighty, Bitcoin mining. Who wants to take that from Cosmo? Who we met today. He's real.
We did. I can take that one. So BTC miners. So we're very keen to enter this space. I think, crypto adjacent. I mean, what we're looking for are kind of industries that are structurally underserved by TradFi lending. And so we think crypto mining or BTC miners in particular are a pretty good opportunity for us. So been having discussions with some of the publics and privates. We're kind of interested in starting at the bigger end of town and launching a first pool that maybe has 40 to 60 million in it. But as with all of our pool launches, we typically try and start small and then scale up from there. So that would be just get the first proof of concept out. We do this probably in the form of secured loans with some of the borrowers that we're comfortable with, but those discussions are going good. So I'd say there's a lot of work that goes into launching a pool like this. There's legal work that happens in the background. So Catherine, our GC, is taking care of that. Quinn Thompson, our head of growth, is taking care of the conversations with potential pool delegates and borrowers. And I think we're actually moving along both tracks quite nicely. So that's coming along well. I know we had a target of June for that, but I think we're still going to try and hold to that. But we'll probably see if market conditions push that out a bit.
And then beyond miners, what are we thinking there? We've mentioned node validators. Any more context around?
Yeah, I think. Look, node validators are another crypto subsector that we could target. So an industry that's already going to be familiar with the operational requirements of taking a loan out in crypto, which makes it easier for us to do our job of selling the loans to them. And then what I like about it is it's a nice, predictable revenue stream. So these guys typically are funding operations and CapEx using equity from venture rounds. So that's extremely high cost of capital. In let's say conventional infrastructure like telecommunications, this would be funded with a higher proportion of debt. And so what we're looking to do is make available a lending product that could support that industry and the growth, which is ultimately, more node validators, more decentralization is good for people in the space and helps the sector more broadly. But then let's look outside crypto. So beyond that, I think we've often talked about tech and SaaS companies And I think that's definitely an area we want to cater to, because they are forward thinking, they are innovative. So they're the kind of borrowers who fall within our wheelhouse. It's in line with our new brand, Charlotte's Baby, and what we've found is the challenge has just been how do we support them with on and off ramps, and also education on the kind of product we provide. So I think we'll get there. It just takes a little bit more time, but that'll be the first sector I think we go to beyond crypto.
It's really exciting. I mean, it's just such an expansive use case of the product. You can copy pasta it everywhere. Charlotte, another Charlotte wants to join the marketing team. Please apply. There's loads of jobs to be done. I think we've got Zane and Martin in the team. But as Sid mentioned earlier, we're absolutely looking ahead to who we need from like a skill perspective, but also from a scalability perspective over the next 6 to 12 months. So it's very likely we'll have some open positions. But we're also looking to bring on freelance support or offer bounty programs, which I think is kind of fun. And there's loads of jobs to do. So I'm sure there'll be a job opening soon. But Charlotte, we can chat anytime. My DMs are open. And Charlotte's are just the best. So, let's make it happen. Will there be cooldown periods for withdrawals from Mpl Staking? From Aaron. Do you want to take that one, Jay?
Sure. So the answer is no, there's no cooldown periods. So the way that it works is you can deposit in anytime and you can withdraw anytime. But the Mpl earnings that are being distributed into the XMPL contract vest over a period of time. And so as soon as you withdraw, you would stop earning your MPL, obviously, but there's no lockups, no cooldowns. It's in and out as you see fit. The way that we think about, I think just ask Kraken to ask the question. So the way that it works is that once we have purchased the amount of MPL to distribute into the XMPL contract, we notify the amount and the time that amount is going to vest over. And so initially we're thinking about it being around 3 to 4 months for each individual deposit being deposited into the contract and vesting over that period of time. And then we can just monitor it as we see the amount of MPL that gets staked into the contract, how revenues are going, and see where the APY works out based on the amount of MPL that's being distributed in. Oh, you're on mute, Charlotte.
I'm really having some terrible problems. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that's better now.
Okay, great. Cool, yeah. Terrible things are happening today. Okay, another question from... I think we answered that one earlier. Can we address how loans are priced? There have been meaningful moves in yields. And we addressed that. So do borrowers lose interest in getting loans from retail when regulators come and it is largely positive and now they can source capital from bigger investment banks? Do you want to take that one, Sis?
I mean,
who's that one from?
Yeah, I can take
Alice.
that one. Yeah, good question, Alice. I mean, most of the deposits on the platform, I would say, are kind of institutional in size anyway. So I think it's about 85 to 90% of deposits are above 500,000. So it is, it's worth noting it's kind of largely already a bit of an institutional product in terms of who's depositing. But I think, I think ultimately more liquidity is better, enables us to serve larger borrowers and ultimately bring that cost of capital down. So I'd say we haven't seen a meaningful shift there in composition. It's probably been pretty similar and pretty institutional for some time now. And I can take the next one. So I'll just repeat the question for those on the video. So have you seen or would you expect to see any impact on lender demand following the removal of Anchor's 18% yield product? Does it also create an opportunity to further reduce MPL incentive emissions, given the yield on the pools are much more attractive relative to competitors now? Good point. We did actually see that. So, I mean, in conversations a few weeks ago, we were often sort of told, well, why would I deposit into Maple when I can go into Anchor? And so I suspect that even if there is overall, let's say like a globally, a bit of a shift out of DeFi lending at the moment, um, it could be that I think there's actually an opportunity for us to potentially grow through this, because we could see that even if there is a bit of an exit of liquidity, that a portion of that is leaving places like Anchor actually ends up in Maple. So I would say in the near term, it's actually like competitively good for us as we've kind of demonstrated strength through this process, and it ultimately sort of helps with reducing emissions rewards rates and therefore making that a more sustainable program, which I think is good for us overall. Next one from Cosmo as well. So just repeating that one as well. With the market pullback, there will be a great winnowing of high quality protocols and wide competitive moats from low quality protocols. Can you help remind us of how you frame MPL's business moat? Well, I think, I actually think less about tech moats and more about competitive operational moats. So I'd say, Maple's now 35 people. A big aspect of making this lending protocol work has been how well we've been able to coordinate operationally. And so Joe's played a huge role in that in terms of executing projects like the launch of new pools, Charlotte with marketing campaigns, but you can see that cohesively, we're actually pretty good at executing as a team. And a lot of this is just, using good communication, modern management practices, like we all sort of come together, set weekly priorities. We have good reporting lines internally, and we always set out as a high priority giving people context because we are a remote team. And so a big part of that is how do you give people context around the mission that we want to achieve? So I think, in the Marines, they'll often have this concept of setting a North Star goal, and then how people within the team want to achieve that is up to them. But they're ultimately held accountable at the end of the day for how well they did against that goal. And so I'd say operations, just like operational excellence, is actually a huge moat for us and probably something that I don't really see a lot of other projects in the space get right. Increasingly as well, let's just highlight on a couple of other factors. So as we grow, the network effect of being an easier place to park capital where lenders have confidence that it's going to be deployed, and also where the top quality borrowers come because they know they can keep their financials confidential, and they know we'll actually be able to clear larger loans to them over time because of the way that Maple pools syndicate debt facilities. So I think that access to liquidity, certainty, and confidentiality helps breed trust for both lenders and borrowers, and that's helped with that constant stream of growth that we've seen.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one, right? Like it's a self-reinforcing cycle, and then the more we can grow and expand, the higher quality participants we bring on, the more validation we get, and the harder it is to replicate something like that. So I think that's a big thing for us. And as we diversify into other borrower verticals and bring new participants onto the platform on all sides of the market, that will be something that, as Cosmo's alluding to, will help to continue that separation between high and low quality protocols, and we hope that we can remain viewed as a high quality one.
Agreed, and I think that also answers the same question that you're asking. Ain't got no agua. Just our operational excellence, as Sid alluded to, I think will help us stay ahead, stay competitive, and we are as curious as anything, and we're super well connected, having conversations about new opportunities all the time. So I don't doubt that we will remain competitive. And we've got blobs, so game changing. Any interesting collateralized pools, Sid?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one because it's kind of like, do you go crypto collateral? And we could see a bit of, I think we could see a bit of potential appetite for that. But I see that more being as kind of a feature that we might offer to, say, some of the CeFi lenders, so that they can use this as a channel for distribution. But collateral, like having the ability to dynamically manage collateral, might be important to them, if we ultimately want them to port a lot of their business onto the platform. Otherwise, I think the danger would be that we just end up kind of, copying or replicating too closely what's on Compound and Aave. So I think, the fact that we could do under collateralized loans opened us up to doing corporate borrowers. And so I think we'd need to see like a good pull factor there. But I suspect that's going to come from like CeFi lenders who want to use us as infrastructure to run their business. We had that partnership with Celsius. That was bringing a CeFi lender in to use DeFi infrastructure, or DeFi rails, as we often say. And so I think that's probably where you'd see collateralized pools take place.
Cool. When Golden Mapes NFT drop? I have actually been having NFT conversations from a curiosity perspective, and I've got a few ideas that I tested with some friends actually at the block today, and they loved it. So I just need to get Sid and Joe on board with that idea, and you never know, we might be seeing an NFT drop or a use case, a valuable use case off NFTs in relation to Maple, because I'd love to work on it, but it'd have to have some form of value or use, unless we just give NFTs away. And there was one more question. Hypothetically, could it, again regarding NFTs, and I'm not part of this conversation, I don't think, hypothetically, could it be that Maple is having conversations with an exciting EU NFT first type of startup that needs liquidity? That sounds like alpha.
Sounds like alpha. We know we can't link alpha.
Wait. Interesting. Alrighty, we're over time. Sorry for the technical issues and for starting late. That's all my fault. Sorry about that. Do keep talking and reaching out if you do have any more questions about anything that we've chatted about today. And we really, really hope that you're as excited to come into year 2 of Maple as we are. I'm proud of the brand and the business that we are today, and hopefully more positive calls as we're going into year 2. Any final comments from Sid, Joe?
Oh, let's make this year even bigger than the last one. I want Maple's second anniversary to be bigger. More milestones, more merch, more
even
globs.
bigger pancake breakfast.
Yeah.
More bigger stickers at permission.
Much stickers, so wow.
All right, thanks everyone.
All right, guys.
See us in Discord if you've got any questions, and have great days. Thanks for joining.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya. Bye.